about a few entries back? Well, as it turns out, one of the specific perks you could get from being signed onto it was access to a specific game known as the Unpredictable Wonkanizer. And that's literally all of the information I can give you. The only shred of evidence that this thing ever existed is in the form of the old Wonka website on the Club W login screen. What this Unpredictable Wonkanizer game could have...
Dude, my iceberg video sucks so bad. The Unpredictable Wonkanizer is a complete mystery, huh? Let me just enter wonka.com in the search box, put in Wonkanizer, and as you can see, the Unpredictable Wonkanizer is actually very, very easy to access if you know what to do. I think the Unpredictable Wonkanizer is complete on the Wayback Machine, though I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to do an investigation on that. Speaking of which, let's continue to watch this horrifically aged, spoiled milk video.
In July of 2020, YouTuber and collector ToonDesk uploaded a short where he showcased a rare WONKA Company tape, dated from 1997. It came taped with this really fancy multi-layer packaging that was almost like a pop-up book, and within it contains a bunch of facts, tidbits, and other stuff.
I completely forgot about this.
ToonDesk claims that one of their friends was an ex-Nestle staff member, and that's how they were able to get a hold of the tape, since their friend was an ex-Nestle staff member. They'd have some insight into the company. There is so much to unpack here, so there may or may not be an analysis video on this in the future.
Wait, when was this video made? Goodness me, goodness my. Willy Wonka is a book character. He originates from a novel, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Now, ironically, his most popular outings are actually movies, or if you're a theater kid, musicals. Because of his outgoings on television and the big screen, he was bound to make it onto home video. Willy Wonka actually has a deep-seated home in the world of home video. So let's take a little meander into the world of Willy Wonka on home video. The 1971 film, a classic in every sense of the word, and an amazing film, only really brought down by how sloppy of an adaptation it is. While not too popular during its initial release, it would soon gain widespread fame thanks to repeated TV airings and home media releases. The 1971 film was first released on VHS sometime in the 80s, I think, and it would see a 25th anniversary VHS release too. The 1971 film has also been released on Laserdisc. DVD copies exist, with some noteworthy specimens being the 40th and 50th box sets. A few years later, Sveriges Television in Sweden would make their own adaptation, Kalle och Chokladfabriken. This film saw its own VHS release that was in circulation from 1996 up until 2002. However, due to the film's length, the VHS release is split up into two parts. Also, it's very, very rare. And now we have the 2005 film. The 2005 film has DVD releases, including a 10-year anniversary DVD and even rare VHS releases. In 2017, they made a Tom and Jerry crossover film with the 1971 movie. And this film was a home media exclusive, including DVD releases. And I can imagine that in the future, 2023 Wonka and his film will also be getting DVDs. However, there is another version of Wonka who has gotten a VHS release. Back during a much simpler time, Nestle owned a real-life Wonka candy company. During the company's height in the late 90s and early 2000s, the accompanying rise of technology also meant that Wonka would be able to reach an even wider audience. He had his own website, wonka.com, and he had these really awesome animated commercials. The rise of Marco Media and Adobe Shockwave also meant that wonka.com was able to have some neat flash games. The company would go on tour across the US in the Wonkamobile, handing out fun services and free candy wherever they stopped. They also had a ton of cool merchandise like shirts and candy tins. Their mascot is unironically the best version of Wonka, period. He was this warm, colorful individual who genuinely cared about his child patrons and just loved to make people happy. Now, this was a rather niche company, all things considered, and sadly not every single thing from Wonka has lived to see the light of modern day. The first example that comes to mind are various pictures of the Wonkamobile tours that were up on Wonka.com. Handfuls of them from the early 2000s have been archived on archive.org, but sadly every picture from like 2002, 2003 onwards has been lost to time. Another example is Nestle UK's Wonka advertising. Nestle gave the company a lot of special treatment in the UK. Sadly, only small handfuls of Wonka UK advertising still exists. However, there is one piece of Wonka candy media that I have neglected covering for far too long, and neglected I shall no longer, because today we are covering the WONKA Company's 1997 promotional VHS. In my old Willy Wonka iceberg video, the very first Willy Wonka video I ever made, I had an entry describing a strange piece of WONKA Company memorabilia. It was this strange VHS tape being showcased in a video by viral collector ToonDesk, and there are also some bonus pictures of this VHS scattered across the web too. The casing for it is this huge diorama with strangely detailed artwork, contrasting the simplistic web course that it used throughout most other Wonka candy media. In this video, ToonDesk is skimming over what the cover has to offer. First, we see Mr. Wonka walking into the entrance to the factory. The next page details some info on how the original book and the 1971 film inspired the company's existence. Next page details some of the fantastical candies made by the company, like Nerds and Chewy Runts. And then we see the final page. Prepare yourself for Wonkanization, and a small inlet which contains the rare VHS tape in question. He lifts up a flap and there's a bunch of text on Nestle Wonka's hat that's rather hard to read thanks to how small the text is, though there is a lyric from the Pure Imagination song. After this, he moves on to some neat little boards with stills from the commercials, some of which strangely show Nestle Wonka with 1971 Wonka's hat. Then he moves to two promotional flyers, one of which showing ingredients for the Wonka candies, and another where it shows where you can find Wonka and some info on the website and TV commercials. And then, there's the mythical tape itself, which had a light purple label with Wonka lettering on it. Sadly, we don't know what's on the tape itself. No footage has ever surfaced online. And there isn't even any word-of-mouth evidence as to what's on the tape aside from this description on Poshmark that says they advertised the new candies. And here's a real knee-slapper, you guys are gonna be laughing.
There are very few in existence.
The Poshmark description only says a small number were made, and ToonDesk says in his TikTok video that only one was ever made. And sadly, nothing of this VHS has surfaced. It's not the worst case of Wonka candy lost media. If you do want the worst ever, I'd recommend the wonka.co.uk shockwave games, all of which are basically lost forever thanks to how they worked and stored data. At least with the WONKA tape, we have what the cover looks like and what the VHS itself looks like physically. With the UK games, all we have are some whack data files that require a ton of work to really get into, and some horrifically deep-fried screenshots. However, if you're a diehard Wonka fan or are an avid collector, you've probably at least seen this VHS in passing, thanks to ToonDesk being quite a popular figure online. Also, can we just acknowledge how much of a Giga Chad ToonDesk is? This guy has multiple things from the Wonka brand and I have so much respect for it. And he literally has one of the rarest pieces of Wonka media out there. ToonDesk, you're awesome. Keep doing what you do and making Wonka fans proud. However, while this is a very rare piece of media, it technically isn't the most obscure in terms of audiovisual Wonka media. Because one time, while I was browsing Wonka stuff on the Wayback Machine, I came across something insane. The Wayback Machine and Archive.org are instrumental in keeping Nestle Wonka's image alive, and preserving WONKA Company content for future generations. However, there is more than simply looking at old Wonka.com captures on the Wayback Machine. Not only are you able to search websites, but you're also able to use the Wayback Machine to search more individual things like PDFs and PowerPoint presentations. Through searching these other files, I found something whack. What you see right now is a transcript for a CD given out for a Walkabout Our Website sweepstakes thing. Here's something about Wonka.com. Part of the website that was present during the early 2000s was the WONKA School. This was a little area where the kiddos visiting the website could learn about various subjects like animal biology, history, and geography. Also in the WONKA School, you could print lesson plans and keep up with the Wonkamobile tours. Now, why is this important? Apparently, this CD was made to promote the educational aspects of the WONKA website. Thankfully, we have what I think is the full or at least near complete transcript for this CD. It begins with Mr. Wonka greeting the viewer and telling them about the WONKA School on his website. We see the address for said website being typed into a computer screen, and then we see the website boot up. Mr. Wonka directs the viewer on how to get to the WONKA School, and it goes on to describe the various parts of the WONKA School. First, we go to Willy's classroom, and it shows the hot topic, the history of chocolate, and how it could be formed into a lesson plan for the classroom. Next, we move on to the Planet-O-Matic game, and Wonka describes how you need Shockwave in order to make it run in your browser, and how to explore the game itself. We move on to the Wonka Trivia Quiz game, using it as a sort of quiz for what the students learned in the Planet-O-Matic game. The best part is that there's no papers to grade. Yay! We then cut to the How It Works section, where students could learn about how stuff like primitive internet and animation worked back then. We then cut to the teacher's office page, which provides info on lesson plans. They show an example one for 3rd grade where you can melt a gobstopper as a science experiment. It then shows you the Book of the Month page where you can find recommended books. I wonder what Nestle Wonka would think of Charlie's Chocolate Factory. We then close with Mr. Wonka thanking the viewer for their time and encouraging them to explore more of his factory. And that was the WONKA School Promotional CD. This is just as, if not even more mysterious than the promotional tapes. This single script is all we have to even confirm the CD's existence. And here's another thing. It says it's a multimedia CD, which implies that there's more than a single thing on this disc, that there's more than the promotional video. What else could have been on it? Maybe copies of the Flash games, maybe? We don't know what the CD itself looked like, but we do actually know a little more about the CDs. We do know that 12,000 copies of these CDs were given out to grade school teachers, and we actually know about the CD's origins. The CD was co-made by the WONKA Company, which is what I can assume is a one-woman-owned business that provides literary assistance to marketing associates. Specifically, quote, copywriting, copy editing, and proofreading services, end quote, as stated on her website. Another legend who has close ties to the WONKA brand. Sadly, like with the promotional VHS, I really doubt we'll ever be able to see everything that this CD has to offer. And that was the strange and shallow pond of WONKA Company promotional videos. The WONKA Company has lots of lost media associated with its name, however these two are especially strange. The chances of them ever being found are very low, but hey, if you once worked for Nestle or were a grade school teacher in the early 2000s, you might be in possession of some rare lost media. Maybe one day these strange videos will be found, but for now all we can do is dream.